um, video here. I met up with a client this morning. The contract is fairly new. We're about a month and a half in. Uh, Work with the current agency a little bit, although the agency is not really willing to share information just yet. But I noticed something I think would be helpful to many, many people. As you're going through, I prepared some reports, prepared some bullet points in what I was seeing in terms of the consulting agreement and what the agency was doing in terms of paid search and analytics and Google My Business and social media and all that fun stuff. And I started to kind of notice some patterns, right, in terms of information. So this is, I'm going to say there's what, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I think they're up to about 20 people or so. But the owner of the company is, um, he wants to be involved, right? He's responsible for growing the business, and the business is growing. It's great actually. They're up about 12% from last year at this exact same time, so that's good. There's certain processes that have been put in place. He's been trying to encourage certain employees to step up in certain areas, which is fantastic. But we started to even just go through their normal tracking in terms of their data, their information. This one specific client uses Service Titan, and so we're going through Service Titan, and I said, so I'll make a name up here. So Scott, what do you think? I mean, in terms of how do you go about evaluating if something is working or not, right? And he ends up pulling up the service schedule on his calendar in terms of jobs that were actually scheduled. He says, well, we have two of these today, and that's a good thing, right? Two of these specific type of projects that they were going to be doing. So I said, Scott, do you look at anything else? And he says, no, that's pretty much it. I'm like, you realize that the reporting tools that you have so much more for you, right? So again, this specific client uses Service Titan, and they track phone calls and clicks through the stuff. It also keeps track of all their salespeople, right? In terms of performance and things like that. So, and types of projects, you can bucket them in different divisions and things like that. Well, a couple things pointed out. First of all, I didn't even use the dashboard, right? Didn't even use the dashboard, which is the first thing that ends up popping up on the screen, right? It shows you all the numbers in different departments and where you're at this month compared to last month, and this year compared to last year. And there's a nice little bar chart there, and it shows you, even if you mouse over the bars, it shows you the percentages as to if you're up or down, and you can then filter out by individual business segment as well. So he now is like, oh, well, he had all these additional questions and things like that associated with his business, right? And things that he can do. He says, where does this come from? Where does this come from? Even things like, okay, they keep track of revenue, right? And sort of sales. And they also have missed opportunities in this specific spreadsheet, the specific dashboard. It says missed opportunities. What drives that, right? You're going, well, your salespeople, your system is actually, in this case for him, your system is using previous data and knows that certain contracts are going to be expiring and things like that. So it says this is revenue that is missed. It's there for you. And today it was like 1/5 of the total amount of information. So they had sales going on already, but then they also had this missed number, an actual sales number, a dollar number that they could go after. And so, well, should we be putting systems in place to go ahead and kind of capture those, right? So if I know that $1 million worth of business is in jeopardy of being lost today, there's things that I need to know what that is, right? And if it's assuming I'm going to have that, that's my money. I mean, if you think about it in terms of that. So let's put some systems in place in order to go do that, right? Oh, never thought about that way, right? Things like that. Or when somebody comes in and calls and picks up the phone, right? You're going, all right, somebody picks up the phone, let's say off of one of the ads, and makes that phone call, right? What is that experience? Okay, so they have, when they call into this specific division of this company, it goes to two people, one of two people. One of them's on the phone, it goes to the other one. So if both of those people are on the phone, it goes to a backup crew, right? And that backup crew has basically two people. And if those are busy, it goes over to a voicemail box, not a call center or anything of that nature. So their system isn't smart enough, and this is one of the things that we were seeing in terms of their Google Local stuff, the actual phone numbers that we're using for Google Local, just this drop off of calls not being there. So when they call, it's like, well, there's 4 rings, and there's 4 rings, and there's 4 rings. At what point does it actually make it to voicemail? And, the office manager's like, well, we do get voicemails. And he says, so that's probably guessing your current customers. Yeah, because no one's going to wait on the phone for that long. Okay, so just by asking a few really good questions, we're able to say, I'm going to say we probably, honestly, if you you're probably losing 10% of the business just in kind of what we discussed in just a few moments. And that's setting the bar really, really low. Okay, and that was just from a conversation and asking the right questions. Now, their current agency is not asking those questions, and the owner of the business is busy running the business and now wants to get involved in that. Well, the fact is he's not really involved in it. In fact, we had to pull up his Google Analytics and pull up his AdWords to show him what they said. When was the last time, Scott, that you looked at your analytics in terms of performance? And he doesn't. Okay, so a couple things going on. How to avoid just this kind of C-level kind of situation where we get so inundated with being accountable, right, with the numbers. So like this individual, Scott, was looking at, okay, I've got my appointments here and sales look good. Well, that's one thing, but you're busy running around so much that you don't even ask some of the basic questions, right, and how to improve the business. So that's where a consultancy can kind of come in, be able to kind of do a deep dive. In this case, it wasn't very deep diving. It was probably like 15, 20 minutes of actual discussion time and pulling up some reporting and just asking some good questions. But there's so much opportunity if you would just basically be accountable, right, to the numbers. But you have to, one, know what those numbers actually are, right? And in this case here, Brian was using a dashboard that, to be quite frankly, it was his calendar with appointments that were scheduled by his techs, right? And that's not necessarily the best way to run the business, right? Because although it feels like you're being successful and you're winning and you've got more appointments now, that's great. But until you understand, okay, well, these are the things that I'm actually really trying to focus in on. So one, understanding what numbers, KPIs, key performance indicators, are important to you. That's number one. Okay, once you do that, you can then start managing your business. Instead of getting involved in all the tactic stuff, there's no reason why potentially you need to know where all the stuff is at in Google Analytics, right? But you need to be able to ask the right questions. And if you have that dashboard in place, right, you're able to say, well, this is what's important. And I know because we've talked before to the consultant, to the agency, these are the triggers associated with that specific KPI. Right? Now, a lot of managers, owners, division heads, VPs are so busy being accountable, they feel like they need to get involved in the tactics and things like that. And typically that's not the case, but they do that out of requirement because they're being held to the numbers. So they're constantly going, well, I need to log into my Google Analytics account. I need to go see this data. Well, no. If we understand the KPIs, we understand what we're actually being able to look at and to measure, now we just need to know the triggers associated with that, right? So that your business becomes a little bit more automated. You're able to manage the company well. And of course, this is a couple things, right? If you can't manage it with the numbers, you need to put systems in place. So just like this, as a consultant, we're going in, we're saying, well, the office manager is saying, well, yeah, we changed over systems about 3 years ago for the phones, and I don't think that's available in that system. Well, have we had that question? No, we haven't really had that question. Would you hang on the phone for 14 or 18 rings? No, you're not going to, especially as a new customer. Like, they don't care about my business, right? So it's those kind of things that really, I mean, if you lose 20% of the calls right out of the gate for prospects, it's probably higher for prospects, as opposed to your customer base, you're missing a whole bunch of things, right? Going after revenue that's completely there for you. Again, looking at those dashboards and being able to do something effectively with it. So again, know your KPIs, know what you need to actually see that drives business, Know the triggers associated with those specific KPIs so you can hold people accountable then to goals, right? Pluses and minuses, set reasonable goals, right? There's no reason why you need to get involved in every detail of the business, okay? But so many of us do that. We're like, well, I need to figure out what that problem is. And this is the problem. I need to go understand that. Again, take a deep breath. I give you permission to let go of those things and to focus on the things that are really going to drive business value, okay, to the company. And it's going to save your sanity too. So just a few things to think about for those C-levels that really do. I mean, again, we're trying to be held accountable, but in many cases, it's one of the two extremes. It's either the way stuff too big or the stuff so detailed that you really can't be involved with it, or if you're going to be involved with it, you're going to try and fix it at a quick level, and then it's going to go away, and it's not a long-term kind of measurable adjustment that you can use. So I know it seems basic, but I see it time and time and time again. So if you feel like that might be something that you need to be able to go ahead and maybe reach out for additional help on, feel free to reach out, let me know. We can set up that 15-minute complimentary consult to figure out a little bit more about your business and maybe some of those things that we discuss, kind of explore a little bit. You can do that by going to either doc29.com and scheduling an appointment there, or roibychris.com and just schedule that 15 minutes in. And man, it would be great to be able to talk with you about that. Thanks so much. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.